Thanksgiving morning rises slowly over a strict HOA neighborhood where everything must look perfect no matter what it costs the people living inside it. Houses glow with matching decorations, lawns shine unnaturally green, plastic turkeys and shiny ribbons hang from doors like silent warnings that today must look happy even if hearts are not. Families move in and out of homes carrying pies, laughing loudly, posting photos, proving to the world that they belong here. Just outside this picture-perfect place, a grocery store fills with noise and tension, carts bumping into each other, cash registers beeping non-stop, the smell of roasted food mixing with stress and impatience. Inside one checkout line stands a single mom with tired eyes and a young son holding onto the edge of the cart. She looks like someone who has already used up all her strength before the day even began. Her coat is old but clean, her hair pulled back quickly, like she did not have time to look in the mirror. She pulls folded bills from her wallet and counts them again, then again, lips moving silently as if the numbers might change if she tries hard enough. The turkey sits heavy on the counter, wrapped in plastic, larger than everything else she bought, larger than her hope right now. The cashier waits, fingers tapping, eyes already drifting to the long line behind her. People sigh. Someone clears their throat loudly. A woman whispers that this line is taking forever. Another man checks his watch and shakes his head. A few HOA neighbors recognize the mom immediately. They know her. Not by name, but by reputation. The single mom who always struggles. The one who never hosts. The one who is always late on fees. Their eyes carry judgment without words. The mom looks up at the screen showing the total and her face drains of color. It is more than she has. Her hands start to shake as she recounts the money, hoping she misread something. Her son looks up at her quietly, his eyes moving from her face to the turkey, then back again. He does not ask. He already understands more than he should. The mom swallows hard, her throat tight, and speaks softly, asking the cashier to remove the turkey. The words feel heavy, like they hurt to leave her mouth. The cashier hesitates for half a second, then lifts the turkey away without expression, placing it behind the counter. The sound it makes when it lands feels loud to the mom, like everyone heard her fail. Her shoulders slump. She nods, embarrassed, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Her son stares at the empty space where the turkey was, then looks down at his shoes, biting his lip to stay quiet. Behind her, someone mutters something about people shopping without enough money. Someone else says Thanksgiving should be planned better. The mom feels every word even if she pretends not to hear. Just a few steps away, a well-dressed man stands near another register, his coat expensive, his posture calm, his presence quiet but heavy. He has been watching everything from the moment the mom started counting her cash. He notices the way her hands shake. He notices the way the boy stays silent. He notices the judgment in the room. No one knows who he is. No one knows he is a billionaire who could buy the entire store without blinking. To everyone else, he is just another shopper. But something in his eyes hardens when the turkey is taken away. He does not rush forward. He does not announce himself. He watches as the mom pays for the few small items she can afford and pushes the cart away, her head low, her son walking beside her like he learned long ago how to disappear when needed. The man pays for his items quickly, his mind no longer on what he came for. He follows them out of the store at a distance, careful not to be seen. Outside, cold air hits the mom's face, and she pauses near her car, gripping the cart, breathing deeply like she is trying not to cry in front of her child. The parking lot is full of families loading bags, laughing, showing off full carts with turkeys and pies. HOA neighbors walk past her again, one of them giving her a look that says everything without saying anything. The boy finally asks in a small voice if they can still have Thanksgiving. The mom forces a smile that barely holds together and tells him yes, of course, they will make it special, but her eyes shine with tears she refuses to let fall. The well-dressed man watches from a few cars away, his chest tight in a way he did not expect. He has seen poverty before. He has donated millions before. But this feels different. This feels personal. He watches the mom struggle to load the bags, sees the boy help her without being asked, and something breaks quietly inside him. He does not step in yet. He turns and walks back into the store instead, his mind already moving faster than his feet. Inside, the turkey still sits behind the counter, forgotten by everyone except the one person who knows what it represents. Outside, the mom gets into her car and sits there for a moment too long, staring at the steering wheel, gathering herself before driving back to the HOA neighborhood that already decided she does not belong. The audience feels the weight of the moment, the unfairness, the shame, the silence, and the tension grows because the man who watched it all is not finished. He did not stop her for a reason. He did not help yet for a reason. And whatever he is about to do will not stay quiet. This Thanksgiving is about to change lives, and the store, the HOA, and everyone who chose to judge instead of help will soon understand that ignoring someone's struggle can cost far more than kindness ever would. The parking lot slowly empties as families drive away with full trunks and light hearts, but the single mom's car stays still for a few extra moments, the engine running softly as she stares ahead without really seeing anything, her hands resting on the steering wheel like they are too tired to move, and her son sits quietly in the passenger seat, his small hands folded in his lap, learning once again that silence is sometimes the safest choice. When she finally pulls out, she drives back toward the HOA neighborhood she never truly felt part of, the streets growing cleaner, the houses growing bigger, the decorations growing louder with every turn, and each plastic turkey and shining ribbon feels like a reminder of what she could not give today. As she turns onto her street, she notices neighbors standing outside chatting, holding warm drinks, laughing, and when her car slows, conversations pause just long enough for eyes to follow her, some curious, some judgmental, some already assuming they know her story without asking. She parks carefully, making sure her car is straight, remembering past warnings about parking rules, remembering fines she could not afford, and when she steps out, the cold air bites at her face, mixing with the shame she has been holding inside since the checkout line. Her son carries the small grocery bag like it is heavier than it should be, and when they reach their door, she fumbles with the keys, her fingers stiff and slow, feeling watched even though no one says a word. Inside the house, the space is quiet and modest. Decorations simple and reused from years before, and when the door closes behind them, the mom finally lets out a breath she has been holding for too long, leaning against the wall as tears slip down her face silently, not loud enough for the neighbors to hear, not even loud enough for her son to notice fully, because she wipes them away quickly and forces herself to smile again. She begins putting groceries away, moving carefully, counting what she has left, already planning how to stretch it, how to make a small meal feel like a celebration, while her son sits at the table drawing quietly, pretending everything is normal, pretending he did not see the turkey being taken away, pretending he did not hear the sighs and whispers. Outside, the HOA continues as if nothing happened, doors opening and closing, people comparing plans, someone across the street complaining loudly about how the store was crowded with people who did not know how to shop properly, and the mom hears every word through the thin walls, her shoulders tightening, her chest aching, because she knows exactly who those words are meant for. Minutes later, there is a knock at her door, sharp and unexpected, and her heart jumps instantly, fear rising before logic, because in this neighborhood, knocks rarely bring good news. She opens the door slowly and finds an HOA representative standing there with a clipboard, smiling politely in a way that does not reach her eyes, reminding her about upcoming fees, mentioning complaints about her trash bins from last week, casually adding that the holidays do not excuse rule violations, and as the mom nods quietly, apologizing even though she is not sure what she did wrong this time, her son watches from behind her, his small face tight with worry. The representative leaves without another word, and the door closes again, leaving the mom standing there feeling smaller than ever, like the walls are closing in, like there is no space to breathe even inside her own home. Across the street, the well-dressed man parks his car quietly, watching from a distance, his face serious now, his eyes no longer curious but focused, because he followed her here, not to frighten her, but to understand, and what he sees confirms everything he felt in the store. He sees the modest house surrounded by larger ones, the lack of decorations compared to others, the way the HOA representative leaves quickly, already satisfied, and something hard settles in his chest, because this is not just about money, it is about pressure, control, and quiet cruelty disguised as order. He sits in his car for a long moment, watching lights flick on in neighboring houses, hearing laughter float through the air, while the mom inside begins cooking the small food she bought, moving carefully, determined not to let her son see how close she is to breaking. She hums softly as she cooks, a weak shield against sadness, and her son joins in quietly, and for a moment there is warmth inside the house, fragile but real. Outside, the man finally steps out of his car, walking slowly down the street, observing everything, the HOA signs, the rules posted on boards, the way neighbors look at him with curiosity but not suspicion, because he fits their idea of belonging, and that realization makes his jaw tighten. He does not knock on the mom's door. Not yet. Instead, he takes out his phone and makes a call, his voice low, controlled, asking questions, requesting information, setting things in motion that no one around him can see yet. As night begins to fall, the HON neighborhood glows with lights and celebration, but beneath it all, tension hums quietly, because the silent shame placed on one mother today has been witnessed by someone who refuses to let it stay silent. And while the mom sits at her small table later that evening, smiling for her son and pretending everything is fine, the first pieces of something much bigger are already moving, unseen, unstoppable. And the kindness that was missing in that grocery store is about to return in a way this neighborhood will never forget. That night settles slowly over the HON neighborhood, lights glowing warm outside while inside the single mom's house everything feels fragile and thin, like one wrong sound could break it, and she moves quietly through the kitchen, stirring a small pot, stretching what little food she bought into something that looks like a meal, her back tense, her mind racing with numbers, with fees, with the calendar, with the quiet fear of tomorrow. Her son sits at the table, coloring the same page over and over, pressing the crayon too hard until it snaps, and when it does, he freezes, looking up at her as if waiting for disappointment, but she forces a smile and tells him it is okay, everything is okay, even though her voice shakes just a little. She plates the food carefully, making it look fuller than it is, placing it in front of him first like she always does, watching him eat slowly, politely, as if he is afraid to want more, and that hurts more than anything else today. Outside, laughter drifts from a neighbor's house, the sound of glasses clinking, people celebrating early, and the mom flinches each time, not from jealousy but from the reminder that this day was supposed to feel different, special, warm, and instead it feels like another test she is failing quietly. After dinner, she washes the dishes slowly, staring at her reflection in the dark window, barely recognizing the tired woman looking back, remembering how different life felt years ago, before the bills piled up, before the HOA letters became routine, before she learned how to apologize for existing. She tucks her son into bed, reading an old book with missing pages, changing her voice to make him laugh, and when he finally asks if they can have a turkey next year, her heart sinks, but she nods anyway, promising him yes, even though she has no idea how she will keep that promise. When she turns off the light and steps into the hallway, the strength she has been holding onto finally slips, and she sinks down against the wall, covering her mouth as silent sobs shake her body, careful not to make a sound loud enough to reach her son's room. Across the street, the well-dressed man watches the house from the shadows, seeing the lights go off one by one, sensing the heaviness even without hearing it, because he has seen this kind of quiet pain before, hidden behind polite smiles and closed doors, and it always stays with him. He walks slowly back to his car, his phone pressed to his ear again, speaking to someone in a calm, serious voice, asking about the HOA, about the store, about contracts and influence, questions that sound ordinary but carry weight, and when he ends the call, his expression is set, because he knows exactly where this is going now. The next morning arrives cold and grey, and the mom wakes early, already tired, preparing her son for school, tying his shoes carefully, smoothing his hair, kissing his forehead a little longer than usual, and as they step outside, an HOA notice is already taped to her door. Bright and official, reminding her about overdue payments and warning about consequences, and her hands shake as she pulls it down, folding it quickly before her son can read it. On the sidewalk, neighbors walk past them, some nodding stiffly, others pretending not to see them at all, and one woman whispers loudly enough to be heard that holidays are stressful when people don't plan properly, and the mom keeps walking, her face burning, her son's small hand gripping hers tighter. At school drop-off, she watches him disappear into the building, waving until he is out of sight, then she sits in her car for a moment, staring at the steering wheel again, the same position she sat in yesterday, feeling like she is stuck in a loop she cannot escape. Later that day, the HOA office buzzes with activity, phones ringing, emails arriving, staff confused by sudden questions from people they do not expect, and no one yet connects it back to the grocery store or the quiet mom with no turkey, but something has shifted, something unseen. In the afternoon, the well-dressed man returns to the grocery store, walking past the same checkout line, noticing the turkey section, noticing how full it is, and his jaw tightens as he remembers the sound of that turkey being set aside, the look on the boy's face, the silence of everyone who could have helped but chose not to. He speaks privately with the store manager, his tone calm but firm, showing documents, making requests that cannot be ignored, and the manager's face changes quickly, polite smile replaced with nervous attention, and when the man leaves, the store feels different, like something important just happened without anyone realizing yet. That evening, as the mom returns home from work, exhausted and numb, she finds a note slipped under her door asking her to come back to the store the next day regarding a checkout issue, and her heart races with fear instead of hope, because in her experience, being called back never means something good. She sits at the table staring at the note, wondering what she did wrong now, wondering if she is about to be embarrassed again, wondering how much more she can take, while somewhere across town, the man who saw her shame prepares to turn that quiet moment into a truth no one will be able to ignore, and the tension tightens, because tomorrow will not be gentle, and the silence that protected cruelty is about to break wide open. That night does not pass quietly for the single mom, even though the HOA neighborhood outside her house sleeps peacefully under warm lights and perfect decorations. Inside her small home the silence feels heavy and loud at the same time, pressing on her chest until breathing feels hard. She moves slowly through the kitchen, opening cabinets that are almost empty, counting what little she has left, calculating meals in her head like a math problem she keeps failing, her fingers trembling every time she touches something because the shame from the grocery store still clings to her skin. Her son sits at the table, swinging his legs softly, pretending to be busy with his homework even though he finished it long ago, because he senses her pain and does not want to add to it. She finally places the food on the table, smaller portions than usual, smiling too wide, telling him it is special because Thanksgiving is about being together, not about what is on the table, and he nods, believing her because children want to believe their parents, but when he takes a bite he eats slowly, carefully, like he is afraid the food might run out if he eats too fast. The sound of laughter drifts in from a neighbor's house, loud and joyful, people celebrating early, glasses clinking, someone talking about a turkey that took hours to cook, and the mom freezes for a second, spoon in her hand, her eyes filling with tears she refuses to let fall in front of her child. She forces herself to sit, forces herself to eat, forces herself to be strong one more time. After dinner, she washes the dishes slowly, staring at her reflection in the dark window, noticing the deep lines on her face that were not there before, lines carved by stress, by survival, by constantly being reminded that she does not fit into this place. She remembers the checkout line, the sighs, the whispers, the way the turkey was lifted away like it meant nothing, and her throat tightens again, because it was never just a turkey, it was proof that she tried and still came up short. She tucks her son into bed gently, smoothing his hair, reading from an old book with torn pages, changing the ending to make it happier, and when he asks in a small voice if they will ever have a big Thanksgiving like the others, she nods without hesitation, promising yes, even though she has no idea how she will ever make that happen. When she turns off the light and closes his door, the strength drains out of her body all at once, and she sinks to the floor in the hallway, covering her mouth as quiet sobs shake her shoulders, tears falling freely now because no one is watching, because this is the only place she allows herself to break. Across the street, unseen by her, the well-dressed man sits in his car, watching the house with lights dimming one by one, sensing the weight inside without hearing a sound, because he has seen this kind of quiet suffering before, the kind that never makes headlines, the kind people walk past every day. He does not feel pity, he feels anger, controlled and sharp, directed not at her but at the system that made this normal. He steps out of his car and walks slowly down the sidewalk, noticing the HOA signs about rules and fines, noticing how many warnings are posted and how few words talk about help, and he exhales slowly, already planning. He makes a phone call, his voice calm and low, asking about the grocery store contracts, about donations, about who controls what, questions that sound simple but carry power behind them, and when the call ends, he looks back at the mom's house one more time before driving away, because tonight is not about action yet, it is about understanding the full weight of what she is carrying. Morning comes too fast, grey and cold, and the mom wakes before her alarm, already tired, already bracing herself for another day of pretending everything is fine. She helps her son get ready for school, tying his shoes carefully, fixing his jacket, kissing his forehead longer than usual, and when they open the door, an HOA notice is taped neatly to it, bright and official, reminding her of overdue fees and warning of penalties if payment is not made soon. Her heart drops into her stomach. She pulls the paper down quickly, folding it tight before her son can read it, forcing a smile and telling him they will talk about it later. As they walk down the sidewalk, neighbors pass them, some nodding stiffly, others whispering without lowering their voices, and one woman says loudly that holidays are hard for people who do not plan properly, and the mom keeps walking, her face burning, her son gripping her hand harder. At school, she watches him disappear into the building, waving until he is out of sight, then sits in her car again, staring at the steering wheel, feeling trapped in the same moment she felt yesterday, wondering how many times a person can be pushed before something breaks. Later that day, the grocery store manager receives an unexpected visit from the well-dressed man, who stands calmly in his office, placing documents on the desk, asking direct questions, explaining what he witnessed, and the manager's confident smile fades quickly, replaced by nervous attention, because this is not a customer complaint, this is something bigger. The man leaves without raising his voice, without making a scene, but the store feels different after he goes, like the air itself knows something is coming. That evening, the mom returns home from work exhausted and finds a note slipped under her door asking her to come back to the store the next day regarding a checkout issue, and instead of relief, fear grips her chest, because she has learned that being noticed rarely brings kindness. She sits at her small table holding the note, her hands shaking, wondering what she did wrong this time, wondering how much more shame she can carry, while somewhere else the man who saw her struggle prepares to turn that silent moment in a checkout line into a truth that will be heard by everyone, and the tension tightens, because tomorrow will change everything. Morning arrives with a thin grey light that makes everything feel exposed, and the single mom wakes with a tight knot in her chest. Because the note from the grocery store is still on the table where she left it, folded once, then unfolded again, the words burned into her mind, asking her to return regarding a checkout issue, and she cannot decide if this is punishment or another quiet humiliation waiting for her. She gets her son ready for school, smiling when she needs to, tying his laces carefully, reminding him to be kind, because that is the one thing she can always teach him even when she has nothing else to give, and when he leaves she stands at the door a moment longer than usual, breathing slowly, gathering courage like it is something she must carry in her pockets to get through the day. At the store, the air feels different from the moment she steps inside, heavier, sharper, employees whispering, managers moving too fast, eyes flicking toward her and then away, and her heart pounds because she expects the worst, a complaint, a warning, maybe even being told she caused trouble, and she almost turns around but forces herself forward because turning away has cost her too much already. The well-dressed man stands near the service desk, calm and steady, and when he sees her his expression softens just a little, not with pity but with understanding, and he gestures gently for her to come closer, his voice quiet as he asks if she remembers him from the checkout line, and when she nods slowly, unsure, he thanks her for coming and asks her to sit, and the way he asks makes it feel like a choice, not an order, something she is not used to. The store manager arrives quickly, nervous now, words careful, explaining that there was a misunderstanding and that they want to make things right, and the mom's hands shake because she does not understand how a misunderstanding could feel so heavy, and before she can speak the man steps in, not raising his voice, not making a show, simply telling the truth, telling the room what he saw, how a mother counted money with shaking hands, how a child learned to stay silent too early, how a holiday meant for gratitude turned into public shame because no one chose kindness, and as he speaks the store grows quiet, shoppers pausing, employees standing still, listening, because this is not a complaint, it is a mirror. He asks the manager to bring the turkey back, then asks for more, calmly listing items, a full meal, enough not just for today but for days after, and when the mom tries to refuse, tries to say it is too much, that she cannot accept it, he looks at her gently and says this is not charity, it is correction, and those words land differently, because for once she is not being rescued, she is being respected. The cashier who removed the turkey stands nearby, eyes lowered, realizing the weight of a moment she thought was small, and the man turns to her and speaks kindly too, reminding her that pressure makes people forget they are dealing with human beings, not numbers, and the room exhales as if everyone has been holding their breath since yesterday. Outside the store, HOA neighbors begin to gather, drawn by the quiet crowd and the sudden stillness, and when they see the mom being helped, when they hear whispers about who the man really is, something shifts on their faces from judgment to fear, because power has a way of revealing itself without shouting. The man steps outside with the mom, holding the door open for her like it is the most normal thing in the world, and in front of everyone he asks her name, says it clearly, makes sure others hear it too, and that simple act does more than the groceries ever could, because being named is being seen. He explains that he has asked the store to set aside meals for other families quietly struggling, not with signs, not with announcements, but with dignity, and the HOA neighbors who once whispered now avoid eye contact, their silence louder than before. The mom stands there, overwhelmed, clutching the bags, her eyes filling again but this time with relief she did not think she was allowed to feel, and she thanks him softly, her voice breaking, and he nods, telling her she did nothing wrong, that needing help is not failure, and for the first time in a long time she believes it might be true. As she walks to her car, the well-dressed man remains behind for a moment, speaking quietly to the manager again, making one last call, setting one more thing in motion that no one else can see yet, and the audience feels it, the tension rising again, because this was not the end, this was only the opening, the public moment before the real consequences arrive, and as the mom drives away with a full trunk and a lighter heart, unaware of what is about to unfold in the HOA that judged her, the man watches the road ahead with calm certainty, knowing that kindness has been delivered, but accountability is coming next, and it will not be quiet. The story does not stay inside the grocery store for long, it moves fast through whispers, through phones, through quiet conversations that suddenly turn serious, and by the time the single mom reaches home with the bags in her car, The HOA neighborhood is already buzzing with questions it never wanted to ask itself. She unloads the groceries slowly, placing each item on the small kitchen counter as if they might disappear if she moves too fast, her hands still shaking, her heart still trying to understand what just happened, and when her son comes home from school and sees the full meal laid out, he stops in the doorway, eyes wide, confused, afraid to believe it is real. She kneels in front of him and tells him gently that someone saw them, that someone cared, and he hugs her tightly, the kind of hug that says thank you without words, and for the first time in days she lets herself cry freely, not from shame but from relief. Outside, cars slow as they pass a house, neighbors looking more closely now, wondering, because news spreads that the well-dressed man was not just any shopper, that he owns companies connected to the store, that his name carries weight far beyond that parking lot, and suddenly the judgment that once felt comfortable feels dangerous. That evening, an HOA email is sent out calling for an emergency meeting, the subject line carefully worded but the tone tense, and people gather in the community hall with forced smiles and folded arms, pretending they are there for routine business when everyone knows they are there because something went wrong. The well-dressed man arrives quietly, not announcing himself, sitting in the back at first, watching faces, recognizing the same looks he saw in the grocery store, impatience, confidence, the belief that rules matter more than people. When the HOA president begins speaking about maintaining standards and protecting the neighborhood image, he stands up slowly, and the room shifts immediately, chairs creaking, whispers stopping, attention snapping toward him as he introduces himself calmly, stating his name and his role, and the silence that follows is heavy because many people in that room recognize it instantly. He does not shout. He does not accuse at first. He tells a story instead, a simple one, about a mother counting cash, about a child learning silence too early, about a turkey placed aside while adults looked away, and as he speaks, faces lower, eyes avoid contact, because they know he is talking about one of their own, someone they chose to see as a problem instead of a neighbor. He asks a single question that cuts deeper than anger, asking how a community can celebrate gratitude while practicing cruelty, and no one answers, because there is no answer that does not sound hollow. The mom is not in the room, but her presence fills it, her quiet struggle suddenly visible, and the HOA president tries to defend policies, tries to explain procedures, but her voice shakes now, because the words no longer sound strong when placed next to the truth. The man explains that support, sponsorships, and partnerships connected to the HOA are under review, that rules will be examined not for legality but for humanity, and that silence will no longer be an option, and the realization spreads through the room like cold water, because power has shifted without force, without threats, simply by shining light on what they tried to hide. That night, the mom receives a knock on her door again, but this time it is not sharp or cold, it is hesitant, and when she opens it she finds two neighbors standing awkwardly, apologizing without knowing exactly how, offering help without knowing what to say, and while their words are clumsy and late, she listens quietly, her heart guarded but open enough to hear them, because healing begins even when it is imperfect. As she closes the door and turns back into her home, she looks at her son setting the table proudly, carefully placing plates like it matters, and she understands something deeply for the first time, that being seen can change more than a single moment, it can change how a whole place behaves. Somewhere across town, the well-dressed man reviews documents, makes one last call, and allows himself a small pause, not of victory but of resolve, because this story is no longer about a turkey or a holiday, it is about accountability, and the next steps will decide whether this neighborhood learns from its silence or repeats it, and as the Thanksgiving night settles in with warm light inside the mom's home, the tension outside grows quietly, because consequences are coming, and they will not be easy, but they will be necessary. The days after the meeting feel heavier than before, not loud, not dramatic, but tense in a way that presses on everyone's chest, because the HOA neighborhood has lost something it relied on, its comfort in silence, and now every door opening, every email notification, every passing look carries weight. Notices appear on doors announcing rule reviews and temporary freezes on fines, words carefully chosen, but people can feel the fear behind them, because authority that once felt absolute now feels fragile. The HOA president avoids eye contact, walking faster than usual, her voice tight in short conversations, while board members whisper in corners, blaming each other quietly, pretending they did not see what they saw at the store, pretending they did not hear the story that changed everything. Across the street from the single mom's house, neighbors who once watched without speaking now watch with uncertainty, unsure how to behave, unsure whether kindness will cost them something the way cruelty once did not. Inside the mom's home, life moves slowly but differently, the food still there, the table fuller than it has been in a long time, and her son helps more than usual, setting plates, asking careful questions, sensing that something important is happening even if he does not fully understand it. She receives emails from the HOA apologizing in formal language, offering meetings, offering support options, and she reads them all quietly, her hands steady now, not because the fear is gone, but because she knows she is no longer alone. The well-dressed man continues working without noise, reviewing contracts, pausing sponsorships, requesting audits, actions that sound boring on paper but shake foundations in real life, and when word spreads that several board members have resigned, that the president is stepping down pending review, the neighborhood reacts in disbelief, because consequences are not something they are used to. A public statement is released acknowledging failures, promising change, and while some residents complain that things are going too far, others feel a quiet shame, realizing how easily they accepted rules that hurt people. One evening, as the mom walks her son home from school, she notices something small but powerful. A neighbor smiles at her and asks how she is doing, not out of curiosity, not out of obligation, but gently, and the mom answers honestly, saying she is okay. And the word feels true for the first time in a long while. At the next community gathering, chairs are spaced farther apart, voices softer, and when someone brings up the idea of a support fund for struggling families, no one laughs, no one rolls their eyes, they listen, because listening has become unavoidable. The mom does not speak much at the meeting, but when she does, her voice is calm, steady, explaining how it feels to live under constant pressure, how small humiliations pile up until they break people quietly, and the room stays silent as she speaks, not because they disagree, but because they finally understand. Outside, decorations come down slowly, the shine fading, replaced by something more honest, and the neighborhood begins to look less perfect but more human. That night, the mom tucks her son into bed and he asks if things will stay better this time, and she pauses, choosing her words carefully, telling him that change is hard and slow, but that people can learn, and as she turns off the light, she feels something new settle inside her, not relief, not victory, but dignity, the quiet strength that comes from being seen and believed. Somewhere across town, the man who started this without meaning to watches the city lights from his office, knowing the work is not finished, knowing that real justice does not end with apologies or resignations, but with lasting care, and as the HOA neighborhood settles into an uneasy sleep, the story moves closer to its end, because tomorrow will decide whether this place truly changes or simply learns how to hide better. And the answer will be written not in rules, but in how it treats the most vulnerable among them. Thanksgiving morning returns to the HOA neighborhood, but this time it feels different, quieter in a softer way, less about showing off and more about being present, and the single mom wakes before sunrise, not because of fear or stress, but because her mind is full of thoughts she never allowed herself to have before, thoughts about peace, about safety, about a future that does not feel like a constant fight. She walks into the kitchen and sees the table already set from the night before, plates neatly placed by her son, who wanted everything to look nice, and when she opens the oven and smells the turkey slowly warming, her hands tremble again, not from shame this time, but from disbelief, because something she once thought was impossible is now quietly real. Her son comes into the kitchen rubbing his eyes, then freezes when he sees the food, the full table, the care taken in every small detail, and his face slowly breaks into a smile so wide it almost hurts her heart to look at it. He hugs her tightly, thanking her even though she knows she is not the only reason this is happening, and she holds him back just as tightly, whispering that they did this together, that kindness brought this moment to them. Outside, the HOA streets are still decorated, but the energy has shifted. Neighbors walk slower, some carrying dishes instead of phones, some stopping to talk instead of judging, and when there is a knock on the mom's door, her heart jumps out of habit before she opens it. But this time it is not a warning or a complaint, it is a neighbor holding a small pie, awkwardly smiling, saying she thought they might want company later, and the mom thanks her softly, unsure what to say but feeling something warm settle in her chest. Throughout the day, small things happen that feel bigger than grand gestures: a text from the HOA announcing the creation of a community support fund, a message explaining new policies focused on assistance instead of punishment, a handwritten note slipped under her door thanking her for speaking up, and she realizes that while the pain of the past cannot be erased, it has not been ignored either. In the afternoon, a simple envelope arrives with no logo, no official seal, just a name written clearly, and inside is a letter from the well-dressed man, not written like a billionaire, not written like a savior, but like a human being, telling her that he did not help her because she was poor, but because she was brave, because she stood in that store and tried anyway, because she showed her son dignity even when the world tried to take it away. He writes that a long-term education fund has been set up for her son, that legal pressure has ensured the HOA changes will stay in place, and that the only thing he asks in return is that she keeps teaching her child what she already knows, how to be kind even when it costs something. She reads the letter twice, then sits down slowly, tears falling freely now, not loud, not broken, but healing, and her son sits beside her, resting his head on her shoulder, not fully understanding the words but feeling their weight. As evening comes, they sit at the table together, just the two of them, the turkey carved carefully, candles flickering softly, laughter coming easily, and for the first time in years, the mom does not feel like she has to apologize for what she has or does not have. Outside, the HOA neighborhood glows with warm light, not perfect, not polished, but honest, and people who once believed rules mattered more than people now carry the quiet memory of how close they came to losing their humanity. Somewhere else in the city, the man who watched a mother struggle in silence sits alone for a moment, not celebrating, not seeking credit, simply knowing that a small decision not to look away changed a path that could have gone very wrong. The story does not end with applause or headlines, it ends with a child falling asleep full and safe, with a mother washing dishes without fear, with a neighborhood learning that dignity cannot be regulated and kindness cannot be fined, and as the night settles in, the lesson remains clear and heavy, that sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is notice someone the world decided to ignore, and choose to act before silence does more damage than poverty ever could.